Hi, this is Stan. Well, yesterday Bob and I were out at Adobe Western doing some track work, and a really interesting gentleman came by to say hi with his train. So I thought maybe you'd like to meet him. So let's head out to the railroad park. This is Phillip Nilsson from Durango, Colorado. Now, he runs some of his trains here in Arizona when the snow gets too deep up in the mountains. But he built and operates his own Ute Pass Railroad on his 14-acre property. It's hillside property up there, which has over 2 miles of 7.5-inch narrow gauge track. It's pretty amazing. Now, I apologize, I was unprepared for an interview and I didn't have my tripod or any equipment handy, so just my shaky camera handheld. Sorry about that. Now, there was a lot of wind noise at the beginning to hear Phil very clearly, so we'll pick up the audio here.
Long caboose. And this is all typical Colorado narrow gauge, 3-foot gauge railroad stuff. And you'll see it everywhere in Colorado, and so that's all I can tell you about the Ute Pass Railroad.
Do you know the website? I'll put a link for it.
Yeah, it's Ute Pass Railroad, UTEPASS Railroad. And if you look under YouTube, there is there's a Ute Pass Railroad club, and there's also a bunch of little videos you can see. So I'd recommend you look at those. And I give people train rides usually from like late March through November. And I have a couple train meets a year where people are invited out. And I have on-site camping if people want to come out and visit. Just call 970-759-9833 just to let me know you're coming. And everything's done by appointment. Right, the house is actually a replica of the Rio Grande Southern Rico station that was originally built in 1890, around 1891. And I built the replica in 1991. And it's a very close replica. And since then, I built a smaller house next to it that I actually live in, and it's a carriage house, and it's styled the same way. The Ute Pass Railroad is about 2.5 miles of track on the side of a mountain with 14 trestles, 4 tunnels, and about a half a dozen villages. So because I mentioned that my house looks like a replica of the Rico station on the Ute Pass Railroad, which is part of the Rio Grande Southern, so what I did is I bought a narrow gauge stock car from the Durango and Silverton, and my original intention was to go ahead and strip. It was in poor shape. It had been wrecked in the 1960s, and the roof had been caved in because some trees had fallen on it, and I was going to basically tear it down to a flat car and build a caboose on it. But then when I went down to pick it up after they brought it down the mountain, I didn't have the heart to do it because it was an artifact from the 1880s, and the ends were still in good shape. So I decided, I talked to the guy there and I said, any chance you might have an old flat car you're willing to sell me? The DNS says, no, we're keeping all our flat cars for freight operations and moving timber and all that. However, we do have a really ratty flat car. It's in terrible condition, and we don't even want to sell it, but we've had 2 bad years in a row, so we'll make a deal with you. We'll sell it to you if you hire our crew to restore the flat car, to put in new sills, a new deck, and restore it back to fully operating condition. Then we'll sell it to you. So what I decided to do is I still wanted my caboose though. I didn't just want a flat car in the yard, but now a caboose that would be 36 feet long just didn't look right for a narrow gauge. So I took my favorite car, which is this one here, and I'm going to do a model of this on top of that flat car. It's just only just a few feet shorter, and I'm going to call it the Ute Pass Junction car, but it's going to look just like this, and it's going to actually be a guest cottage on my property, or a little bit more of an RV, I should say, because it'll actually have an RV toilet and sink and all that in it and everything. So I'm going to build that, and I'm starting that. It's actually in the process. It's going to be ready for me about a week, the flat car is, and I just got to wait for the snow to melt to put the track down, and then I've already got the lumber and I've made a lot of parts, and I'm hoping to have it done by June, maybe. So that's my latest projects.
Hey, thanks so much, Phil. I'll put a link to his YouTube and Facebook sites below. Now I'm thinking, time to get my train loaded up, hook up the camper, and road trip. Well, this is Stan. Thanks for watching. Make today a great one, and I'll see you next time.